They dragged the widow out of her chair like she was nothing, right beside a man calmly sipping coffee. The crowd looked away, everyone except him. When one thug finally noticed the tattoo on his hand, it was already too late. If this story pulled you in, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss what's ahead. I've got another unforgettable story coming tomorrow. And while you're here, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing people tuned in from all over the world. Okay, let's get back into it. The widow, sitting 3 tables away, had stopped crying weeks ago. Leon Powles noticed this first, not the tears, but their absence. The dangerous kind of silence. He'd come to enemy territory for observation, nothing more. A quiet cup of coffee. A read on how his rival ruled these streets. But when Jack and Roman stormed through the hanging lights and grabbed her by the arm, Leon realized something. Some things you can't just observe. Some things demand a response. The night rain hadn't stopped when Leon Powles stepped out of the unmarked sedan 4 blocks from the Canal District. He came alone. No security detail. No armored convoy. No visible weapons. Just a man in an expensive black suit walking through streets that didn't belong to him. Yet, he looked exactly like what he was, someone with power. Dark hair slicked back with precision, visible tattoos creeping up his neck and coiling across his hands. A black suit tailored to perfection despite the grime of his surroundings. Polished shoes clicked against wet cobblestone. But here, in this territory, looking dangerous meant nothing. Everyone here worked for someone dangerous. He'd blend in through brazenness, not disguise. The tattoo on his left hand told the real story, but only to those who knew how to read it. Most wouldn't. Most would see just another enforcer grabbing late-night food. That was enough. Leon Powles was a name that made other criminals careful. The Mafia boss who'd turned 3 territories into 7 before his 35th birthday. Who negotiated first, but never twice. Whose reputation was built on precision, not spectacle. He controlled ports, transport routes, protection networks, all functioning through fear, loyalty, and cold efficiency. But the Canal District was different. It belonged to a rival. A man who ruled through chaos instead of order. Through public humiliation instead of private resolution. Through breaking people who couldn't fight back. Leon had been watching for months. Tonight, he'd come to see it himself. The taco stand sat at the edge of the main canal, where string lights hung between rusted posts, and the smell of grilled meat mixed with engine oil and wet concrete. Tacos El Jefe glowed in yellow neon above the weathered tin roof. Abierto 24 HRS burned pink beside it, reflected in the dark water below. A handful of plastic tables scattered across cracked pavement. Workers in stained uniforms. Night shift laborers with tired eyes. People too exhausted to care who sat beside them. Leon chose a table near the water's edge. The wood was scarred and uneven, the chair wobbling slightly as he sat. He ordered coffee from a vendor who barely looked at him, then settled back, one arm draped casually across the chair, the other lifting the chipped ceramic cup to his lips. He watched. The canal stretched endlessly in both directions, dark water moving slowly beneath bridges strung with more lights. Buildings rose on either side, old industrial structures converted into cheap apartments, their windows glowing yellow and blue from televisions inside. Laundry hung from balconies despite the rain. Music drifted from somewhere unseen, competing with the hum of generators and distant traffic. This was the edge of the city most people forgot existed, where rules bent, where police rarely came, where territory wasn't marked on maps but understood through violence. The widow arrived 20 minutes later. She didn't order food, didn't speak to anyone, just sat at a corner table near the kitchen, staring at the dark water, her hands folded in her lap like she was waiting for permission to exist. Jasmine Anders. Leon had seen her file, 42 years old, husband dead 6 months, a low-level dealer who'd worked for the current territory boss, 2 children, ages 9 and 12. Worked cleaning offices during the day, avoided everyone at night. No family nearby, no support system. Trapped, but it was her stillness that caught his attention now. The way she sat perfectly upright, hands trembling slightly despite being folded tight. The way her eyes stayed fixed on nothing, unfocused, like staring too hard at the world might shatter what little control she had left. She wore a simple floral dress, pale yellow with small prints, modest and worn, and a thin cardigan that did nothing against the cold. Her dark hair was pulled back, revealing a face that had once been warm but now carried only exhaustion. What struck Leon most was how the other customers reacted to her. A construction worker at the next table shifted his chair away slightly, angling himself so his back faced her. The taco vendor glanced toward her twice, then quickly looked away, his jaw tight. A woman waiting for her order saw Jasmine and chose to stand, rather than sit at the empty table beside her. Fear, not of Jasmine herself, but of being associated with her, of being noticed near her, of whatever invisible mark she carried. Leon sipped his coffee and waited. The rain picked up, drumming harder against the tin roof. The string lights swayed, casting shifting shadows across the wet pavement. A truck rumbled past on the street behind them, its headlights cutting through the mist before disappearing. Jasmine didn't move. Leon studied her with the same quiet intensity he brought to everything. This was how he'd built his empire, not through recklessness, but through observation, understanding the patterns, reading the silence between words, knowing when power was real and when it was performance. Here, the silence told him everything. This woman was being watched, controlled, used as an example. He'd seen it before in other territories. A widow inherits her husband's debts, can't pay, becomes leverage. Her children become collateral. The cycle continues until she breaks completely or disappears. It was efficient, in a brutal way. One death becomes ongoing profit. Leon set his coffee down, his expression unchanged. He'd come here to observe how his rival operated, to understand the weaknesses in this territory before making his move. He'd expected cruelty, his rival was known for it, but seeing it up close, quiet and methodical, stirred something he usually kept buried. Anger, not the explosive kind, the cold kind, the kind that calculates. He was about to stand, about to approach her table with some excuse, ask for directions, comment on the rain, anything to gauge her situation directly when he heard them. Footsteps, heavy, confident, coming from the street behind the stand. Leon's eyes shifted without moving his head. Two men emerged from the shadows between buildings, walking with the swagger of people who'd never been told no. Both wore tank tops despite the cold, their arms covered in tattoos. One was leaner, with a gray shirt stretched tight across his chest. The other was broader, darker tank top showing off muscular arms, his face set in permanent aggression. They headed straight for Jasmine's table. The vendor saw them and immediately looked down, suddenly very focused on cleaning the grill. The construction worker stood up and walked away, leaving his half-eaten food behind. The few other customers found reasons to turn away, to check their phones, to stare intently at nothing. Jasmine saw them too. Her hands clenched tighter. Her breathing changed shallow, controlled, like she was trying to disappear by staying perfectly still. Leon remained motionless, his coffee cup raised halfway to his lips, watching. The two men stopped at Jasmine's table. "Time's up," the one in gray said. Jasmine didn't look up. Her hands remained folded in her lap, knuckles white, trembling now despite her attempt at stillness. The two enforcers loomed over her table, blocking what little light reached her corner. The one in the gray tank top, Jack, crossed his tattooed arms and leaned forward, invading the small space she occupied. "You deaf?" he said. "I said time's up." Still, she didn't respond, didn't move, just kept staring at the dark water beyond the edge of the stand, as if she could will herself to dissolve into it. Leon watched from his table, the coffee cup still raised, his posture unchanged. To anyone watching, he looked mildly curious at best, bored at worst, but his eyes tracked every movement, every shift in weight, every glance exchanged between the two men. The broader one, Roman, circled around to Jasmine's side, his boots scraping loudly against the wet pavement. He placed one massive hand on the back of her chair. 3 weeks late," Roman said, his voice a low rumble. "Boss is tired of waiting." Finally, Jasmine spoke. Her voice came out barely above a whisper, fragile and worn. I don't have it yet. I'm working extra shifts. I just need..." "Need what?" Jack interrupted, slamming his palm on the table. The sound cracked through the night air like a gunshot. Jasmine flinched. "Need more time? Need more excuses? We've heard it all, sweetheart." Leon set his coffee down slowly, carefully, making no sound. Jasmine's breathing quickened. "Please, my children, they need..." "Your children need their mother to pay what she owes," Roman said, his hand moving from the chair to her shoulder, gripping it, not gently. "What your husband owed, what you owe now. That's how this works." She closed her eyes, a single tear finally escaping down her cheek. "He's dead. I didn't ask for his debts. I didn't. Doesn't matter what you asked for." Jack said, leaning closer, his face inches from hers. Matters what you got. You got his debts. You got his responsibilities. You got his consequences. Leon's jaw tightened imperceptibly. His fingers drummed once against the table, a habit he'd broken years ago, but that surfaced now, unbidden. This was the system, the machinery of control his rival had built. Inherited debt, generational bondage, fear passed down like property. Jasmine opened her eyes, looking directly at Jack for the first time. There was something desperate in that gaze, something breaking. I'm trying. I work every day. I clean offices until midnight. Not good enough, Roman said, his grip tightening on her shoulder until she winced. Boss says you're making examples of yourself. Sitting here every night, looking miserable, making people uncomfortable. Bad for business. I'm not. This is the only place I can afford to. Don't care, Jack cut her off. He straightened up, looking around at the other customers who were all very deliberately not watching. You know what? I think you're stalling. I think you've got money hidden somewhere. Maybe we should check your apartment. Make sure those kids of yours aren't sitting on a pile of cash while mommy plays poor. Jasmine's eyes went wide with panic. No, please. They're asleep. They're just children. They don't. Then pay, Roman said simply. Tonight. Right now. Or we go have a conversation with them instead. The tears came freely now, streaming down Jasmine's face as her composure finally shattered. Her hands unfolded, reaching up as if to plead, then falling back to her lap as if she'd forgotten how to ask for mercy. I don't have it, she whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I need more time. 2 weeks. I can get it in 2 weeks if I... You had 2 weeks, Jack said. You had 4 weeks before that. You had 6 months since your husband decided to get himself killed and stick you with his mess. Leon's hand moved to his lap, fingers curling slowly into a fist. Still, he didn't stand, didn't intervene. Not yet. He needed to understand the full extent of this, the complete picture. Roman leaned down, his mouth close to Jasmine's ear, his voice dropping to something meant to sound paternal but landing as pure threat. Listen carefully. You have until Friday. 3 days. You bring the full amount, 8,000, to the usual place. You don't? We take the kids. Not to hurt them, just to hold them, until you find motivation. Jasmine's breath caught, a sob escaping before she could stop it. They'll be comfortable, Jack added, grinning now. Fed. Safe. Long as you remember what you owe. Think of it as daycare. Expensive daycare. Please, Jasmine choked out. They're 9 and 12. They're in school. They haven't done anything. Neither did you, Roman said, releasing her shoulder and stepping back. But here we are. Life's unfair like that. Jack tapped the table twice with his knuckles, a casual gesture that somehow carried immense weight. Friday. Sunset. Don't make us come looking. They turned to leave, their job done, their message delivered. As they walked past Leon's table, Jack glanced at him briefly, the kind of look enforcers give everyone, checking for problems, asserting dominance through eye contact alone. Leon met his gaze with complete indifference, then looked away, reaching for his coffee as if nothing in the world mattered less than 2 thugs walking by. They disappeared into the shadows between buildings, their laughter echoing back across the water. Jasmine sat frozen, her hands covering her face now, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Around her, the other customers slowly returned to their food, their conversations, their lives. The vendor went back to grilling, the music continued playing. The rain kept falling, as if nothing had happened, as if a woman hadn't just been told her children would be taken in 3 days. Leon lifted his coffee cup, studying Jasmine over the rim. She wasn't just depressed, as he'd initially thought. She was drowning, trapped in a system designed to extract everything until there was nothing left but compliance or disappearance. Her husband, whoever he'd been, had likely started with small debts, small jobs, small compromises, then came bigger ones, then came death, sudden or inevitable. And the debt didn't die with him. It transferred, mutated, became her burden, her children's future. 8,000, 3 days. Impossible numbers for a woman who cleaned offices. Leon set his cup down and stood slowly, his chair scraping against the pavement. Jasmine didn't notice. She was still hidden behind her hands, trying to breathe, trying to hold together pieces that had already broken. He walked toward her table, his footsteps deliberate, his shadow falling across her grief. She looked up, startled, eyes red and swollen. Leon said nothing at first, just studied her. Then, quietly, "How long has this been happening?" Jasmine stared at Leon like he'd spoken a foreign language. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She blinked rapidly, trying to process why a stranger in an expensive black suit was standing at her table, asking questions no one else dared to ask. She started, then stopped, her eyes darting toward the shadows where Jack and Roman had disappeared. Fear replaced confusion. "Please, don't. Just don't." Leon pulled out the chair across from her and sat down uninvited. Up close, he could see the full weight of what she carried, the dark circles under her eyes, the way her hands wouldn't stop trembling even when she pressed them flat against the table, the exhaustion that went deeper than missing sleep. "How long?" he repeated, his voice low, calm. Jasmine shook her head quickly, wiping at her tears with the back of her hand. "You don't understand. You can't. They'll think I talk to you. They'll think I'm—" Her breath hitched. "You need to leave. Please." "They're gone," Leon said simply. "They're always watching," she whispered, glancing around the taco stand. The vendor was pointedly ignoring them. The few remaining customers had their backs turned. Even when you can't see them, that's how this works. That's how they— She stopped herself, realizing she was already saying too much. Leon leaned back slightly, giving her space, making himself less threatening. "The debt? It was your husband's?" Jasmine's jaw tightened. For a moment, she looked angry not at Leon, but at the question itself. At the truth it represented. 6 months ago, yes, now it's mine. His name died with him, but what he owed? That's forever, apparently. How much did he actually borrow? She laughed bitterly, the sound hollow and broken. 2,000, maybe 3. I don't even know anymore. They don't exactly provide itemized statements. Every week there's a new fee, new interest, new charges for being late, for needing time, for breathing wrong. She met his eyes directly now, something fierce breaking through the fear. 8,000. That's what they say I owe today. Next month it'll be 10, the month after, 12. It never ends. That's the point. Leon said nothing, just listened. "My husband," Jasmine continued, her voice dropping again. "He was trying to start a business, a food truck, something legitimate. But he needed money for permits, equipment, licenses. The banks wouldn't touch him, no credit, no collateral. So he went to them." She gestured vaguely toward the darkness. "They said it was a loan, fair terms, 6 months to pay back with interest. He believed them. And when he couldn't pay? They offered him work instead. Deliveries, they called it. Just driving packages across the city. Easy money to cover the interest while he got the truck running." Her voice cracked. "He did 3 deliveries. On the 4th, the police stopped him. He panicked, tried to run, crashed into a telephone pole going 80 miles an hour. Leon's expression didn't change, but something cold settled behind his eyes. "They came to the funeral," Jasmine said, her hands clenching into fists. "Stood in the back, waited until everyone left. Then they told me, 'Your husband's debt is now your responsibility. His obligations are yours. You have 2 children who need to eat, need school, need a roof over their heads. We can make that very difficult. Or we can make it simple. Just pay what's owed. And if you run? Run where?" She laughed again, that same broken sound. "They own this territory. The police don't come here. The landlords report to them. The shops, the schools, the clinics, everything connects back to them somehow. I tried once, got as far as the bus station. They were waiting when I came home. Didn't hurt me. Didn't need to. Just asked where my son was. He was at school. They knew his classroom number, his teacher's name, what time he got dismissed. The message was clear. Resistance was futile. Escape was impossible." Leon absorbed this information with the methodical precision he brought to all intelligence gathering. This wasn't just exploitation. It was a system. A machine designed to trap people and extract value indefinitely. His rival had turned debt into slavery, and the police into accomplices through deliberate absence. "The children," Leon said. "They threatened to take them." Jasmine's composure shattered again. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "Friday, 3 days. If I don't bring $8,000 money I'll never have. They'll take my babies. They'll call it safekeeping. They'll say it's just until I find the money. But I know what it really is. leverage, insurance, a guarantee that I'll do whatever they want, forever, just to see them again. What will you do? I don't know, she whispered. I've been sitting here for 2 hours trying to figure it out. There's nothing to sell, nothing to borrow against. No one to ask for help. Everyone here is just as trapped as I am. I could. She stopped, the thought too terrible to voice. Could what? They offered me work before. Not deliveries, different work. The kind they offer women who run out of options. Her voice was barely audible now, shame and desperation mixing into something toxic. I said no, but if it means keeping my children. Leon's jaw clenched. This was the final stage of the system. Push someone until they had nothing left. Then offer them the choice, degradation or loss. Make them complicit in their own destruction. His rival wasn't just running a territory. He was running a meat grinder. Don't, Leon said simply. Jasmine looked at him, confusion replacing despair for a moment. What? Don't do their work. Don't pay them. Don't make that choice. She stared at him like he'd lost his mind. You don't understand. They'll take my children. They won't. How can you possibly? Because I'm going to stop them, Leon said quietly. The words hung in the humid night air, absurd and impossible. A stranger in a black suit, drinking coffee at a canal-side taco stand, promising to stop an entire criminal organization from taking a widow's children. Jasmine's expression shifted from confusion to something harder, anger. Who are you? Some kind of hero? You think you can just… She stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes had dropped to Leon's hand, resting on the table, to the tattoo that covered his knuckles and wrapped around his wrist. A specific design, a specific pattern. Recognition dawned slowly. Then all at once, her face went pale. Oh God, she breathed. You're not from here. No, Leon confirmed. You're from across the river. You're… Her voice dropped to barely a whisper, as if saying it too loud would make it real. You're Leon Powell's. He didn't deny it. Jasmine pushed her chair back, standing abruptly. You need to leave. Right now. If they see you here, if they think I talked to you, sit down, Leon said calmly. They'll kill me. They'll kill my children. This territory, it's not yours. You being here, it's a declaration of… Sit down. Something in his voice made her obey, sinking back into her chair despite every instinct screaming at her to run. Leon leaned forward slightly. Those men, Jack and Roman, how often do they come? Every week, sometimes twice. Always here? Here, or my apartment or my work, wherever I am. And if you bring the money Friday, they'll take it. Then next month there'll be more. Leon nodded slowly, filing away every detail. Then he stood, straightening his suit jacket. Jasmine looked up at him, terrified and confused. What are you going to do? Finish my coffee, Leon said. You should go home. Lock your doors. Keep your children close. That's it? That's your plan? He looked down at her, and for the first time, something almost gentle crossed his features. Trust me, Mrs. Anders. By Friday, you won't owe anyone anything. Before she could respond, before she could ask how he knew her name, he walked back to his table, sat down, and lifted his coffee cup, as if the conversation had never happened. Jasmine stood frozen for a long moment, then gathered her small purse and hurried away into the night, glancing back once, twice, unable to reconcile what had just occurred. Leon watched her go, then pulled out his phone. He typed a single message, position confirmed, Jack and Roman. Visual confirmation needed, follow but don't engage. The response came within seconds. Already on them, boss. Leon set his phone down and took another sip of coffee. The night rain continued falling, and somewhere in the shadows, Jack and Roman had no idea they were already being hunted. Leon didn't have to wait long. 20 minutes after Jasmine disappeared into the rainy night, the footsteps returned, heavier this time, more deliberate, the kind of walk that announced itself, that demanded attention and obedience. Jack and Roman emerged from the same shadows they'd vanished into, but their swagger had intensified. They'd been drinking, Leon could tell from the looseness in their movements, the volume of their laughter. Roman carried a bottle wrapped in brown paper. Jack had his phone out, showing his partner something that made them both grin. They weren't alone this time. Behind them walked a third man, older, with a shaved head and a scar running from his temple to his jaw. He wore a leather jacket despite the humidity and moved with the careful precision of someone who'd survived too many fights to be reckless. This one was higher up the chain. A supervisor checking on his collectors. Leon remained still, his coffee long since cold, watching them approach the taco stand. The vendor saw them and immediately grabbed 3 bottles of beer from a cooler, setting them on the counter before they even asked. No money exchanged hands. The vendor's face was carefully blank. "Yo, Carlito," Jack called out, grabbing a beer and twisting off the cap. "That widow give you any trouble? She come crying to you after we left?" The vendor Carlito shook his head quickly. "No trouble. She left. Said nothing." "Good," Roman rumbled, taking his own beer. "She's learning. Fear's a good teacher." The scarred man said nothing, just accepted his bottle and surveyed the taco stand with cold assessment. His eyes passed over the few remaining customers, the hanging lights, the dark canal water. Then they landed on Leon. The man's gaze lingered, studying. Leon could feel the calculation happening. Stranger, expensive suit, sitting alone, too comfortable in hostile territory. The man's eyes narrowed slightly, professional curiosity engaged. Leon met his stare with perfect indifference, then looked away as if dismissing something uninteresting. It was a calculated move. Too much eye contact suggested challenge. Too little suggested fear. The right amount suggested someone who simply didn't care. The scarred man turned back to Jack and Roman. "The quota for this week? On track," Jack said, pulling out his phone and scrolling through what looked like a list. "Got 3 payments today. The widow's late, but she'll pay Friday or we take the kids like you said. 2 others are current. One guy tried to short us, so I don't need the details," the scarred man interrupted. "Just results." "We get results," Roman said defensively. "Every week, every month, people pay." "They better." The man took a long drink from his beer. "Boss is expanding east. Needs this territory running smooth. No problems, no drama, no excuses." Jack nodded eagerly. "We keep it tight. Everyone knows the rules." Leon listened to every word while appearing to ignore them completely. He'd pulled out his own phone, scrolling through nothing, just another person killing time. But his ears tracked everything, the hierarchy, the expansion plans, the casual cruelty of, "Take the kids like you said." The scarred man finished his beer quickly and set the bottle down hard on the counter. "I'm heading back. You 2 finish your rounds, then check in." And Jack, "Yeah, boss? Stop drinking on the job. I smell it on you." Jack's smile faltered. "Just 1, to celebrate." "I don't care if it's 1 or 10. You stink like a distillery and you're supposed to be professional. This isn't a game. This is business." "Yes, boss. Sorry, boss." The scarred man walked away without another word, disappearing into the maze of streets and alleys. Jack and Roman stood in silence for a moment, the reprimand hanging between them. Then Roman laughed, low and mean. "Professional. Like what we do needs a degree. Man's gotta stick up his ass," Jack muttered, but quietly, making sure their supervisor was truly gone. "We're the ones doing the work. The dirty work. Breaking fingers, threatening kids, dragging people out of there." He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes had drifted back to Leon's table, and this time, something changed in his expression. The casual arrogance drained away, replaced by sharp focus. "Yo," Jack said to Roman, his voice lower now. "You see that guy?" Roman turned, following his partner's gaze. "What guy?" "Table by the water, black suit, been sitting there the whole time." "So? Lots of people sit." "No, not here. Not dressed like that. Not this late." Jack took a step toward Leon's table, his body language shifting from relaxed to predatory. "Something's off." Roman hesitated, then followed. "You're paranoid. I'm careful. There's a difference." They approached Leon's table together, their shadows falling across the worn wood. Leon didn't look up from his phone, didn't acknowledge them, didn't show the slightest interest in 2 armed enforcers walking directly toward him. "Hey," Jack said, stopping a few feet away. "You." Leon let a beat pass, then slowly raised his eyes from his phone. He looked at Jack with the mild irritation of someone interrupted during something important. "Can I help you?" Leon asked, his voice neutral, polite even. Jack's eyes narrowed. "You've been sitting here a long time." "Good coffee," Leon said simply. "Yeah? You from around here?" "Just passing through." "Passing through," Roman repeated, moving to Leon's side, flanking him. "Dressed like you're going to a wedding, at a taco stand, in the rain, at midnight." Leon set his phone down carefully. Is there a dress code I'm not aware of? Jack didn't smile. There's a territory code. This ain't your territory. I can tell. You don't smell right. Smell, right? Leon's tone suggested he found this amusing. Yeah, you smell like money, like you think you're better than everyone here. Jack leaned forward, hands on Leon's table. What are you really doing here? You a cop? Some kind of investigator? Or maybe you're just lost and too proud to ask for directions. I told you. Coffee. Bullshit, Roman said flatly. Nobody comes here for coffee. They come because they live here, work here, or they're doing business. Which one are you? Leon considered them both with the calm assessment of a butcher choosing cuts of meat. Then he smiled slightly, not friendly, just acknowledging the absurdity of the situation. I'm the kind of person who doesn't like being questioned while enjoying a quiet evening, he said evenly. Jack's jaw tightened. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. The air shifted. Roman's hand moved toward his waistband, where a weapon likely sat. Jack's posture changed, weight shifting forward, ready to escalate from questions to violence. You got a real mouth on you, Jack said quietly. Maybe we should. He stopped. His eyes had dropped to Leon's hands, still resting casually on the table. To the tattoos that covered his knuckles, wound up his fingers, disappeared under his cuffs. But it wasn't just the tattoos. It was the specific design, the specific pattern. Jack's face went pale. Roman, he said, his voice suddenly tight. Look at his hand. Roman leaned closer, squinting in the dim light. Then he saw it too. The tattoo wasn't random. It was a mark, a signature, a declaration of allegiance that every criminal in the city knew how to read. 3 interlocking circles, a crown above them. Initials worked into the design so subtly that only someone trained to look would notice. It was Leon Powell's personal mark, the symbol of his organization, the sign that this man didn't just work for the Powell's family. He was the Powell's family. Roman took a step back, his hand dropping away from his waistband. Oh shit. Jack's bravado evaporated entirely. You can't be. Leon stood slowly, deliberately, his full height becoming apparent. He buttoned his suit jacket with practiced ease, every movement controlled, unhurried. I was having coffee, Leon said quietly, his voice carrying a weight it hadn't before. Minding my business, observing. But then you had to ask questions. We didn't know, Jack stammered. We thought you were... You thought I was nobody, Leon finished. Someone you could intimidate. Someone who'd fold when you flexed. Roman's eyes darted around the taco stand, looking for backup that wasn't coming, for witnesses who were deliberately not watching. Mr. Powell's, Jack said quickly, his tone completely changed, respectful now, fearful. We meant no disrespect. We were just doing our job. If you'd known, you would have left me alone, Leon said. But you didn't know. And that tells me something useful. What? Roman asked, though he clearly didn't want the answer. Leon smiled, and there was nothing warm in it. It tells me your boss doesn't control this territory as well as he thinks he does. It tells me his people are sloppy, overconfident, drunk on the job. Jack opened his mouth to defend himself, then closed it, realizing anything he said would only make things worse. Now, Leon continued, taking a single step forward. Both men flinched. You're going to go back to whoever sent you, and you're going to tell them that Leon Powell sends his regards. That's a declaration, Roman said, his voice shaking. You're in our territory. You're starting. A war? Leon finished. No, I'm finishing one that hasn't started yet. Big difference. He moved past them, walking calmly toward the street. Then he paused, turning back. Oh, and gentlemen, the widow, Jasmine Anders. Consider her debt paid in full. Jack's eyes went wide. We can't just the boss will. Tell your boss, Leon said softly, that if anyone touches her, or her children, or even looks at them wrong, I will personally dismantle everything he's built, street by street, block by block, until there's nothing left but memory. He didn't wait for a response. Leon walked into the rain-soaked night, leaving 2 terrified enforcers standing frozen at an empty table. Behind him, Jack pulled out his phone with shaking hands. We need to call this in, he said. We're dead, Roman whispered. We're so dead. The war had begun, and neither of them had seen it coming. Jasmine was halfway home when she heard footsteps behind her. She walked faster, clutching her worn purse against her chest, the rain soaking through her thin cardigan. The street was empty, too empty for this time of night. The few working streetlights cast long shadows that seemed to reach for her. The footsteps matched her pace. Her heart hammered. She told herself it was nothing. Just another resident. Just someone else trying to get home in the rain. But the instinct that had kept her alive these past 6 months screamed otherwise. She turned a corner, walking faster still. The footsteps turned with her. Jasmine's breath came quick and shallow now. 2 more blocks to her apartment. 2 more blocks to her children. Asleep and safe behind a locked door that wouldn't stop anyone who really wanted in. Mrs. Anders. The voice was calm, familiar, not threatening. She spun around, nearly slipping on the wet pavement. Leon stood 10 feet behind her, hands in his pockets, looking as composed as if they were meeting for tea, instead of on a dark street at midnight. Jesus Christ, Jasmine gasped, one hand pressed to her chest. You can't just— I apologize, Leon said, closing the distance between them but stopping at a respectful distance. I didn't mean to frighten you. I wanted to make sure you got home safely. Why? The word came out sharp, accusatory. Why would you care? Why would you— She stopped, realizing. Did they see you following me? Did Jack and Roman— They saw me, Leon confirmed. At the taco stand, after you left. Jasmine's face went white. No. She turned in a circle, as if expecting enforcers to materialize from the shadows. They'll think I talked to you. They'll think oh God, they'll think I went to you for help. They won't think anything, Leon said calmly. You don't understand. Her voice rose, panic overtaking fear. You being there, talking to me, and then talking to them, it connects us. They'll assume I knew who you were. They'll assume She couldn't finish, couldn't voice what they'd assume. Jasmine. Don't. She backed away from him. Don't say my name like we're friends, like you know me. You've just killed me. Do you understand that? You've killed me and my children. All because you wanted to play hero for 5 minutes. Leon's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. That's not what I did. Then what did you do? Tears mixed with rain on her face. What exactly did you accomplish back there besides painting a target on my back? I told them your debt was paid. Jasmine laughed a harsh, broken sound. You told them. You, a Mafia boss from across the river, walked into enemy territory and told their enforcers that I don't owe them money anymore. And you think that helps me? It does help you. It makes me a liability. She was shouting now, all pretense of keeping quiet abandoned. Don't you see? I'm not just a widow with debt anymore. I'm the widow who talked to Leon Powell's, the widow who brought a rival boss into their territory, the widow who— Her voice cracked. They'll make an example of me. They have to. If they don't, everyone will think they're weak, that they can't control their own streets. Leon took a step forward. Jasmine took 2 steps back. Stay away from me, she said. Please, just go back to your territory. Forget you saw me. Forget this whole thing. Maybe if I grovel enough, if I convince them I didn't know who you were, maybe They already know I'm here, Leon said quietly. By now, Jack and Roman have called their boss. Word is spreading. The question isn't whether they know, it's what they do about it. Then you've started a war, Jasmine whispered. No, I've prevented one. How? How have you prevented anything except my death? Leon was quiet for a long moment, rain dripping from his hair, his expensive suit slowly getting ruined. When he spoke, his voice carried a certainty that was almost frightening. Because I don't start wars I don't finish, and I don't make promises I don't keep. Jasmine stared at him, searching for sanity in his words and finding only conviction. You promised me I wouldn't owe them anything by Friday. You can't keep that promise. You're one man in someone else's territory. You have power across the river, but here you're just an intruder. She stopped. Her phone was ringing. The sound cut through the rain, shrill and insistent. Jasmine fumbled in her purse with shaking hands, pulling out a cheap smartphone with a cracked screen. Unknown number. Her blood turned to ice. Don't answer it, Leon said. But it was too late. Her finger had already pressed accept, muscle memory from 6 months of conditioning. When they called, you answered. Always. Hello? Her voice barely worked. Mrs. Anders. The voice on the other end was smooth, cultured, nothing like Jack or Roman's street swagger. This was someone higher up, someone who made decisions instead of following orders. I hope I'm not calling too late. No, I know. It's fine. Good. I wanted to discuss something with you, a situation that's developed tonight. You see, 2 of my associates encountered someone interesting at your usual location. They tell me this person showed particular interest in your circumstances. Jasmine's eyes locked on Leon, who stood perfectly still, listening. I didn't. Please, Mrs. Anders, let's not insult each other with denials. You were seen speaking with Leon Powells, at length, just before he made certain declarations about your debt. I didn't know who he was, Jasmine said desperately. He just sat down. He asked questions. I didn't. Whether you knew or not is irrelevant, the voice continued, uninterested in her panic. What matters is the optics. You understand optics, yes? What things look like. Please, my children are safe, for now. But I'm afraid your timeline has changed. Originally, you had until Friday to produce $8,000. Given tonight's complications, I'm going to need you to bring $10,000. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m., the usual location. $10,000? Tomorrow? Jasmine's legs nearly gave out. That's impossible. I can't. There's no way. Then I suggest you ask your new friend for help, the voice said coldly. Since he seems so interested in your welfare. Surely a man of his resources can spare $10,000 for a woman he's taken such concern over. He's not my friend. I don't even. Tomorrow, 6 p.m., 10,000. Or we collect your children from school, and you can explain to them why Mommy's poor choices led to their extended vacation. The line went dead. Jasmine stood frozen, phone still pressed to her ear, the rain soaking through to her skin. What did they say? Leon asked quietly. She lowered the phone slowly, turned to face him, and for the first time, the fear transformed into something else. Anger. Pure, hot, desperate anger. $10,000, she said, her voice shaking. Tomorrow night. Because of you. Because you couldn't just drink your coffee and mind your own business. Jasmine. No. She threw her phone into her purse and turned away, walking toward her apartment. You wanted to help? This is help? Making everything worse? Making impossible debts more impossible? Leon followed at a distance. I can give you the money. She spun around. And then what? I give it to them and they let me go? They forget you exist? They forget you challenge them in their own territory? She laughed bitterly. You don't understand how this works. The money isn't the point anymore. I'm the point. I'm proof that they can't be challenged. That even when Leon Powells himself declares someone untouchable, they can still reach them. They won't. You keep saying that, Jasmine said, exhausted now, like saying it makes it true. They'd reached her apartment building a 3-story structure with crumbling concrete and barred windows. Jasmine stopped at the entrance, digging for her keys. Go home, Mr. Powells, she said without looking at him. Go back across the river. Back to your territory where people actually fear you. Here you're just a man who made things worse. She found her keys, unlocked the door. I meant what I said, Leon called after her. About your debt. About protecting you. Jasmine paused in the doorway, then looked back at him one final time. Her face was older than her years, lined with exhaustion and grief, and a resignation that came from expecting nothing and receiving less. My husband said the same thing, she said softly. That he'd protect us, that he'd fix everything, that I should trust him. She swallowed hard. They pulled him out of that crashed car in pieces. You want to help me, Mr. Powells? Don't make promises you can't keep to a woman who's already buried one hero. She walked inside and let the door swing shut behind her. Leon stood in the rain, watching the building. A light turned on in a 3rd-floor window. Jasmine's apartment. He could see her silhouette moving inside, checking on her children probably, making sure they were still safe. Still there. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Status, he said when it connected. 4 men positioned around the building, came the reply. 2 on the street, 1 in the alley, 1 on the rooftop across the way. No one gets in or out without us knowing. Good. Maintain position. I want eyes on her until this is finished. Boss, if they realize we're here, they already realize, Leon said. That's the point. Let them see. Let them know she's protected. Let them wonder how many more of my people are in their territory that they haven't seen. He ended the call and stood for another moment, water dripping from his suit, his carefully maintained appearance slowly dissolving in the rain. Jasmine was right about one thing. He'd made her situation worse. In the short term, at least. But she was wrong about another. He always kept his promises. Even the ones made to women who'd stopped believing in heroes. Leon turned and walked into the night. Behind him, from a fourth-floor window of an abandoned building, Jack watched through binoculars. "He's leaving," Jack said into his phone. "Follow him," came the response, "but carefully. I want to know where he goes, who he meets, how many people he brought with him." Jack lowered the binoculars, his hands still shaking from earlier. "Boss," he said carefully, "is this really smart? Going after Powell's? Starting this?" There was a long pause on the other end. Then, "He started it when he walked into my territory. I'm just going to finish it." The line went dead. Jack stood in the darkness, watching Leon's figure disappear into the rain-soaked streets, and knew with absolute certainty that nothing would ever be the same again. Jasmine didn't sleep. She sat at her small kitchen table, a cup of cold tea in front of her, watching the clock on the wall tick toward morning. Every car that passed outside made her flinch. Every creak of the old building made her heart race. She'd checked on her children 7 times since coming home, watching them sleep, memorizing their faces like she might never see them again. Miguel, 12, slept with one arm hanging off the bed, his math homework still scattered across his desk. Sophia, 9, clutched a stuffed rabbit, her small face peaceful in a way that broke Jasmine's heart. They had no idea their world was ending. At 6:47 a.m., Jasmine finally moved. She made breakfast mechanically: scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice, normal things. A normal morning. She woke the children gently, watched them stumble to the table, rubbing sleep from their eyes. "Mom, you look tired," Miguel said, studying her with the too observant eyes of a boy who'd grown up too fast. "Couldn't sleep," Jasmine said, forcing a smile. "Bad dreams." Sophia climbed into her chair, still half asleep. "What kind of dreams?" "Nothing important, baby. Eat your breakfast. You'll be late for school." They ate in comfortable silence, the morning routine, a shield against reality. Jasmine stood at the counter, coffee untouched, watching them, memorizing this, just in case. At 7:30, she walked them to the bus stop like she did every morning. Held their hands a little tighter, hugged them a little longer. "Mom, you're being weird," Miguel said, but he didn't pull away. "I love you," Jasmine said, her voice thick. "Both of you. So much." "Love you too," Sophia said easily, the way children do when they think love is infinite and uncomplicated. The bus arrived, yellow and loud and normal. They climbed on, Miguel helping Sophia up the steps. Jasmine waved until the bus turned the corner and disappeared. Then she stood on the empty street corner and let herself cry for 30 seconds. Just 30. Then she wiped her face, straightened her shoulders, and walked to work. The call came at 2:47 p.m. Jasmine was on her knees scrubbing an office bathroom when her phone rang. She didn't recognize the number, but she recognized the terror that came with unexpected calls. "Hello? Mrs. Anders, this is Principal Reeves from Franklin Elementary." Her blood turned to ice. "Is something wrong? Are my children—" "Your children are fine," the principal said quickly, "but there's been a situation. A man came to the office an hour ago with a note. He said he was your brother-in-law and that there was a family emergency. He had authorization paperwork, your signature, emergency contact information. Everything appeared legitimate." "I don't have a brother-in-law," Jasmine whispered. "My husband was an only child." Silence on the other end. Then, "Oh God, where are my children?" Jasmine's voice rose. "Where are Miguel and Sophia?" "He took them," the principal said, her voice shaking now. "He signed them out." The secretary checked his ID, verified the paperwork. Everything looked we had no reason to think. "Where are my children?" Jasmine screamed into the phone. Other people in the office building stopped, staring. She didn't care. "We've called the police," Principal Reeves said desperately. "They're reviewing security footage. The man who took them, he was in his 40s, stocky build, wearing a dark jacket." Jasmine hung up. Her hands shook so violently she nearly dropped the phone. She stood in the middle of the bathroom, cleaning supplies scattered around her, her reflection staring back from the mirror, a woman coming apart at the seams. They took them. They actually took them. She'd known it was possible, had been threatened with it for months, but some part of her had believed it was just intimidation, just theater. They wouldn't really kidnap children in broad daylight from a school, but they had, because Leon Powell's had challenged them, because she'd been seen with him, because they needed to prove that their authority was absolute. And her children, We're the proof. Jasmine ran. Out of the bathroom, down the hallway, past her supervisor's shouted questions. Out of the building into the afternoon sun that felt too bright, too normal for a world where children disappeared from school. She ran the 6 blocks to Franklin Elementary, her lungs burning, her vision blurring with tears. The school was in chaos. Police cars in the parking lot, parents crowding the office. Principal Reeves standing by the door, her face pale, talking to 2 officers. Mrs. Anders, the principal started when she saw Jasmine. Show me the footage, Jasmine demanded. Show me who took my children. One of the officers stepped forward. Ma'am, we need to ask you some questions first. Do you know anyone who might? Show me the footage. The principal nodded to the officer, then led Jasmine inside to the main office. The secretary, a woman Jasmine had smiled at dozens of times during drop-offs, looked like she might be sick. They pulled up security footage on the office computer. 2:03 p.m. A man walks into the frame. 40s, like the principal said. Stocky build, dark jacket, but it was his face that made Jasmine's stomach drop. Roman. Not even trying to hide. Not wearing a disguise. Just Roman, one of the enforcers from last night, walking into her children's school like he belonged there. The footage showed him smiling at the secretary, handing over paperwork, making small talk while she processed the authorization. Then Miguel and Sofia being called to the office, confused but obedient. Roman putting a hand on each of their shoulders, gentle, almost paternal, and walking them out the main entrance. The timestamp read 2:14 p.m., 33 minutes ago. Do you know this man? One officer asked. Jasmine couldn't speak, couldn't form words. She just stared at the frozen image of Roman's face, smiling, confident, untouchable. Mrs. Anders? Her phone rang. Everyone in the office turned to look at her. She pulled it out with numb fingers. Unknown number. She answered. Hello, Jasmine. The smooth voice from last night. Not Roman. Not Jack. Their boss. I trust you've heard about the situation at your children's school. Jasmine's hand tightened around the phone so hard it hurt. Where are they? Safe. Comfortable. Probably eating pizza and watching cartoons as we speak. My people are very good with children. They'll be perfectly cared for. If you hurt them. I won't, the voice said simply. Unless you give me reason to. This doesn't have to be complicated, Jasmine. You have something I want. I have something you want. We make an exchange. Everyone's happy. $10,000, Jasmine said, her voice hollow, by 6 p.m. Actually, there's been another adjustment. You see, something interesting happened this morning. 3 of my businesses were visited by fire inspectors. Businesses that have operated for years without problem suddenly have code violations. 2 of my collection houses were raided by police who've ignored those addresses for months. And 4 of my street dealers were arrested in coordinated busts across the territory. Jasmine's breath caught. Your friend, the voice continued, has been busy, making calls, pulling strings, applying pressure, so the price has changed again. $20,000. Tonight. Or you can ask Mr. Pauwels to trade your children for whatever war he's trying to start. 20,000? Jasmine's voice broke. That's impossible. You know that's impossible. Then I suggest you make it possible. You have his number, don't you? Call him. Tell him his heroics have a cost. Tell him I'll trade your children for a meeting. Just him and me. No weapons. No backup. A simple conversation about territory and respect. He won't come. He will, the voice said with certainty. Because he's the type of man who makes promises to widows. And men like that don't break promises. It's their weakness. Where? Jasmine whispered. I'll send you an address. Be there at 8 p.m. With Pauwels, or with 20,000 cash, or with a very good explanation for why I should keep your children alive. The line went dead. Jasmine stood frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear, surrounded by police officers and school administrators who had no idea they were witnessing the end of her world. Mrs. Anders? Principal Reeves touched her arm gently. What did they say? Jasmine lowered the phone slowly, looked at the police officers with their notepads and protocols and complete irrelevance. I need to make a call, she said quietly. We can help you, one officer said. If this is a kidnapping, if someone's making demands. You can't help me, Jasmine said. No one can. She walked out of the office, out of the school, into the parking lot where afternoon sun painted everything in gold. Normal people doing normal things, parents picking up children who were actually there, Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone. She didn't have Leon's number, didn't know how to reach him, but she knew where he'd been last night. She called the taco stand. Tacos el Jefe, Carlito answered. This is Jasmine Anders, she said, her voice surprisingly steady. I need you to get a message to Leon Pauls. Tell him they took my children. Tell him there's a meeting tonight at 8. Tell him, her voice finally cracked. Tell him he was right. He made everything worse, and now my babies are gone. Señora, Carlito said softly. He's already here. What? He's been here since noon, drinking coffee, waiting. He said you'd call. Jasmine's breath caught. Put him on. There was a rustling sound, then Leon's voice, calm and cold. Jasmine. They took them, she sobbed. They took Miguel and Sofia from school. They want $20,000 or they want you. They want... I know, Leon said quietly. You know? How do you... I've been tracking Roman since he left the school. I know where your children are. Jasmine's legs gave out. She sank to the pavement in the middle of the parking lot, the phone pressed to her ear. Are they hurt? No. They're in a house on Bleecker Street, 4 guards outside, Roman and 1 other inside with the children. They're watching television. They're safe. For now. How do you know all this? Because I told you, Leon said, and there was something final in his voice. I don't make promises I don't keep. And I promised no one would touch your family. But they did. They took them. They made a mistake, Leon interrupted. The worst mistake they could make. They took children. That changes everything. What are you going to do? What I should have done last night, Leon said. Finish this. The meeting, Jasmine said desperately. They want you there at 8. It's a trap. You know it's a trap. Of course it's a trap. Then don't go. Please. Just give me the money. I'll pay them. I'll convince them. Jasmine, Leon said gently. This stopped being about money the moment they put their hands on your children. Tell me the address they gave you. She did, reading it from the text that had just arrived. The old warehouse district, Leon said. Predictable. Be there at 8, but stay in your car. Don't come inside no matter what you hear. I don't understand. What are you? Trust me, Leon said. One more time. Trust me. The line went dead. Jasmine sat in the parking lot, sun warming her face, police sirens wailing in the distance. And for the first time since her husband died, she let herself hope. The warehouse district at night looked like a graveyard for industry. Rusted shipping containers stacked like tombstones, cracked pavement overtaken by weeds, buildings with broken windows and faded paint, their glory days decades gone. The only lights came from a single warehouse at the end of the dock, harsh fluorescence spilling through grimy windows, making the building glow against the darkness. Leon arrived at 7:45 p.m. He parked 3 blocks away and walked, his footsteps echoing in the empty streets. He wore the same black suit from the night before, now cleaned and pressed. His tattoos were visible, his hands empty of weapons. He looked exactly like what he was, a man, walking into an ambush with his eyes open. But he wasn't alone. In the shadows behind him, concealed in abandoned buildings and behind shipping containers, 16 of his best men waited. Silent, invisible. Each one positioned with clear sightlines to the warehouse, each one armed and ready. Leon had spent the afternoon preparing. Not just positioning his people, but sending messages, making calls, applying pressure to every weak point in his rival's organization. The fire inspectors weren't random. The police raids weren't coincidence. Every move calculated to send one message. You can take children, but you can't keep them. He reached the warehouse at 7:53 p.m. The entrance was a rusted metal door, partially open, light spilling out. 2 guards flanked it, young men trying to look dangerous, their hands resting on weapons tucked into waistbands. Leon Pauls, one said, his voice cracking slightly. Boss is expecting you. I know, Leon said simply. Need to check you for weapons. Leon spread his arms without protest. The guard patted him down professionally, finding nothing. No gun, no knife, no wire. He's clean, the guard called inside. Send him in, came a response from deeper in the building. Leon walked through the door into a space that had once housed machinery but now held only emptiness. The concrete floor was stained with oil and rust. The ceiling stretched 3 stories high, exposed beams crisscrossing overhead. Work lights hung at intervals, creating pools of harsh brightness separated by deep shadows. At the far end of the warehouse, under the brightest light, sat a man in a leather chair that looked absurdly out of place. Beside him stood Jack and Roman, both trying to look confident despite what had happened the night before. The man in the chair was in his 50s, with silver hair swept back and a face that would have been handsome if not for the cruelty in his eyes. He wore an expensive suit navy blue with subtle pinstripes and a gold watch that caught the light. Diego Ruiz, the man who controlled this territory through fear and systematic brutality. "Mr. Pauwels," Diego said, his voice the same smooth tone from the phone calls. "Punctual. I appreciate that." Leon walked forward, his footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. He stopped 20 feet away, making Diego come to him if he wanted closer conversation. "Where are the children?" Leon asked. "Safe," Diego said, spreading his hands. "As promised, I'm not a monster, despite what you might think. I don't hurt children. I simply borrow them, temporarily, until business is concluded." "Business," Leon repeated flatly. "Yes, business." Diego stood, buttoning his suit jacket. "You see, you've created a problem for me, Mr. Pauwels. You entered my territory without permission. You made declarations about one of my assets. You interfered with my operations. And then," his voice hardened, "you spent today systematically attacking my income streams. Fire inspectors, police raids, coordinated harassment, assets," Leon said quietly. "You called Jasmine Anders an asset, a debtor, an asset. Same thing in my business model. She's a widow with 2 children. She's a woman who inherited debt and responsibility," Diego corrected. "Her husband made choices. She lives with consequences. That's how the world works." Leon's expression didn't change, but his eyes went colder. "Not in my world." Diego laughed, a genuine sound, almost amused. "Your world. Yes, let's talk about your world. You control 7 territories. You run them with what people call honor, rules, structure. You think you're better than me because you don't squeeze widows? Because you have codes and hierarchies? I don't think I'm better than you," Leon said. "I know I am." The temperature in the room dropped. Jack and Roman shifted nervously. Diego's smile faded. "You know why I agreed to this meeting? Because I wanted to look you in the eye when I explained how things work here. This territory? It's mine. Not through inheritance or family legacy, but because I took it, built it. Every street corner, every business, every person who pays me, I earned that through work and will." "You earned it through terror," Leon said. "Terror, power, control. Different words for the same thing." Diego walked closer now, closing the distance between them. "You rule through respect and fear in equal measure. So do I. The only difference is I'm honest about it." "The difference," Leon said, "is I don't kidnap children. I borrowed children," Diego corrected. "As insurance. As incentive. As a reminder that in my territory, I make the rules. Not you, not anyone else. Me." They stood facing each other now, 5 feet apart, 2 predators sizing each other up. "Here's what's going to happen," Diego continued. "You're going to leave this warehouse. You're going to return to your territories. You're going to issue a public statement that Jasmine Anders' debt stands, that you overstepped, that you respect territorial boundaries. And in return, I'll return her children unharmed and reduce her debt to the original amount." "No," Leon said simply. Diego's jaw tightened. "No? Her debt is paid. Her children will be returned tonight. And you're going to withdraw from this territory entirely." The warehouse went silent except for the hum of the work lights. Then Diego laughed again, but this time there was no humor in it. "You think you can come into my territory, alone, and make demands? You think because you have a reputation across the river that it means anything here?" "I'm not alone," Leon said. Diego's smile widened. "Neither am I." He raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Men emerged from the shadows. Not 2, not 5, dozens. They'd been hidden throughout the warehouse behind shipping crates, in the rafters, behind closed doors, each one armed, each one positioned to create a crossfire that would turn the warehouse floor into a kill zone. Jack and Roman stepped forward, flanking Diego. Around the perimeter, the circle of armed men tightened. Diego spread his arms. "You see? This is my territory, my warehouse, my rules. You walked in here thinking you were in control, but you never were." Leon looked around slowly, counting men, noting positions. Then he looked back at Diego, and to Jack and Roman's horror, he smiled. I came here alone because I wanted to give you a chance, Leon said quietly. One opportunity to do the right thing. Release the children. Walk away. Disappear. I would have let you go. Would have let you vanish to whatever hole you crawled out of. Let me go? Diego's voice rose. Let me? But you chose this, Leon continued, ignoring him. You chose to escalate, to threaten, to surround me with guns and men and think that makes you powerful. It does make me powerful, Diego said. I have 30 men in this building. You have yourself. So tell me, Mr. Powells, how exactly do you think this ends? Leon pulled out his phone. Not quickly. Not threateningly. Just calmly retrieving it from his pocket. Wait, Diego barked. His men raised their weapons. No calls, no tricks. Not a call, Leon said. He tapped the screen twice, then held it up so Diego could see. It was a live video feed. The image showed a house. Bleecker Street. The house where Jasmine's children were being held. But the guards who'd been outside were gone. The door was open, and inside, barely visible in the frame, 2 small figures sat on a couch, Miguel and Sofia, alive and unharmed. Standing behind them was one of Leon's men, giving a thumbs up to the camera. Diego's face went pale. You wanted to know how this ends? Leon said, lowering his phone. It ends with your leverage disappearing. It ends with your men realizing they're surrounded. And it ends with you understanding that I didn't come here to negotiate. He turned slightly, addressing the armed men around the perimeter. I came here to give you all a choice. What choice? Diego said, his voice tight. Your men can stay and fight, Leon said. They can be loyal to you and die in this warehouse, or they can walk away right now, alive, and find employment elsewhere. I'm told I pay better anyway. You think you can buy my people? Diego laughed, but it sounded forced. These men are loyal. They're loyal to money, Leon interrupted. Not to you, not to some abstract principle, to money and survival. And right now, I'm offering both. He turned slowly, making eye contact with each armed man in turn. I have 16 shooters positioned outside this building, he said clearly. Rooftops, windows, doorways. Every exit is covered. Every sightline calculated. If shooting starts, none of you walk out. Not Diego, not Jack, not Roman. None of you. He's bluffing, Diego said quickly, but his voice wavered. Am I? Leon pulled out his phone again, tapping the screen. Watch. A red laser dot appeared on Diego's chest. Then another. Then 3 more, dancing across Jack and Roman's torsos. The armed men looked around nervously, seeing laser sights cutting through the dusty air from windows they'd thought were empty. But it doesn't have to be this way, Leon continued. You can walk out, find new employment, live to work another day. All you have to do is lower your weapons and leave. No one moved. Diego's confidence was crumbling, but he fought to hold it. You think you can just... Yes, Leon said simply. I think I can. Silence stretched. Then, from the back of the warehouse, one man lowered his gun. The hell with this, he muttered, and walked toward the exit. Stop, Diego shouted. You walk out that door, you're dead, The man kept walking, pushed through the door, disappeared into the night. No gunshot followed. Another man lowered his weapon. Then another. Stay! Diego screamed, his composure shattering. I pay you, Not enough to die, someone called back. The exodus began. Not everyone. Some men stayed, their loyalty or stupidity stronger than their survival instinct. But more than half walked away, leaving weapons on the ground, heading for exits. Within 2 minutes, Diego's 30 became 12. Jack and Roman looked at each other, then at their boss, then at the exits. Don't you dare, Diego warned them, but Jack was already backing away. Sorry, boss. This ain't what I signed up for. Roman followed, both men moving toward the door, keeping their eyes on Leon. Diego stood alone now except for 10 men. Their loyalty absolute or their stupidity complete. This isn't over. Diego said, his voice shaking with rage. You think you've won? You've just started a war. I'll burn your territories. I'll kill everyone you... Where are Jasmine's children? Leon interrupted. What? You had guards at that house. 4 outside, 2 inside. Where are they now? Diego's mouth opened, then closed. He pulled out his own phone. Dialed. No answer. Dialed again. Nothing. They're alive, Leon said. Unconscious, but alive. I don't kill people for doing their jobs. but they're no longer working for you. Diego's hand shook as he lowered the phone. Leon took a step closer. This territory is mine now. As of tonight, your operations are dismantled. Your income streams are severed. Your people have abandoned you. And the children you took? They're having ice cream with their mother right now. That's impossible. The timeline you couldn't have. I could, Leon said. And I did. Because while you were busy setting this trap, I was already 6 moves ahead. He gestured to the remaining 10 men. You have one chance. Walk away. Tonight. Forever. Take whatever money you have and disappear. Because if I see you in this city again, if I hear your name mentioned in any territory, if you so much as look at Jasmine Anders or her children, I won't send men. I'll come myself. Diego's face twisted with rage and humiliation and fear. You can't. This territory is mine. I built it. You can't just... I already have. The 2 men stared at each other, the space between them charged with violence that hadn't happened yet. Finally, Diego straightened his jacket, trying to salvage some dignity. This isn't over, he said quietly. Yes, Leon said. It is. Diego walked toward the exit, his remaining men following. At the door, he turned back one final time. You'll regret this. Leon's expression didn't change. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. Diego disappeared into the night. The warehouse fell silent except for Leon's breathing and the hum of the work lights overhead. He pulled out his phone and made a call. It's done, he said. Bring them home. Leon stood alone in the empty warehouse, listening to Diego's footsteps fade into the night. He counted to 30, then pulled out his phone. Now, he said simply. The response was immediate. Engines roared to life outside. Headlights flooded through the warehouse windows, cutting through darkness like searchlights. Tires screeched on pavement. Diego had made it exactly half a block. Leon walked to the warehouse entrance, watching the scene unfold with the detached interest of a chess master, observing checkmate. Diego's car, a black Mercedes, sat surrounded, not by 2 vehicles, not by 5, by 12. They'd materialized from alleys, from side streets, from positions carefully chosen hours ago, blocking every escape route, every possible exit. Men emerged from the vehicles, Leon's men. Silent, efficient, armed but not aggressive. They simply stood there, a human wall between Diego and freedom. Diego got out of his car slowly, hands visible, his face a mask of disbelief and rage. You said I could leave, he shouted toward the warehouse. You gave your word. Leon stepped into the light spilling from the entrance. I said you could walk away. I never said how far. This is an ambush. You... Yes, Leon said calmly. It is. The same kind you planned for me. The same kind you've used on countless others in this territory. How does it feel? Diego's remaining men had their hands on their weapons but hadn't drawn them. They were outnumbered 3-1, surrounded, and very aware of the laser sights that had reappeared, painting red dots across their chests. What do you want? Diego asked, his voice tight. I want you to understand something, Leon said, walking closer. You thought tonight was about power, about showing dominance, about proving you control this territory through force and fear. I do control it. You controlled it. Leon corrected. Past tense. Because real power isn't about how many guns you can point at someone. It's about knowing when to use them and when they're unnecessary. He stopped 10 feet from Diego, close enough to speak quietly but be heard. You took children, Leon continued. Not soldiers, not rivals, children. A 9-year-old girl and a 12-year-old boy who'd done nothing except have the misfortune of being born to a man who owed you money. Business is... Business, Leon interrupted, his voice hardening. Doesn't involve taking children from schools. That's not business. That's terrorism. That's the tactic of someone who's run out of legitimate power and has to prey on the weakest to maintain control. Diego's jaw clenched. Around them, his men shifted nervously, recognizing the losing position they occupied. Here's what happens now, Leon said. Your operations in this territory end tonight. Your collection routes, your protection rackets, your debt books, all of it transfers to me. Your people can stay and work for fair wages, or they can leave and find employment elsewhere. But you? He leaned closer. You leave this city, tonight, and you never come back. This is my territory, Diego said, but the conviction was gone from his voice. Was your territory? Leon said. You lost it the moment you thought kidnapping children was an acceptable business strategy. One of Leon's men stepped forward, holding a tablet. He turned it toward Diego, showing a screen filled with numbers, addresses, names. "We've already seized your accounts," the man said. "Frozen your assets, contacted your suppliers. By morning, everyone who worked for you will know you're finished." Diego stared at the screen, his face draining of color. That's years of work. That's the cost of your choices," Leon said. "You wanted to play with children's lives. This is what you pay. You can't just take everything. I have rights. You have nothing," Leon said flatly. "And you're alive only because I choose mercy over justice. Don't mistake that for weakness." He gestured to his men. 2 of them moved forward, opening the back door of one of the SUVs. "There's a car waiting," Leon said. "It'll take you to the state line. You'll be given $5,000 and a warning. If you're seen in this city again, if you contact anyone from this territory, if you so much as think about revenge, there won't be a conversation. There won't be a warning. There will just be an ending." Diego looked at the open car door, then back at Leon. For a moment, something like defiance flashed in his eyes. Then he saw the faces surrounding him. The absolute certainty in Leon's expression, the laser sights still painting his chest. The defiance died. "This isn't over," Diego said, but the words were hollow. "Yes," Leon said quietly. "It is." Diego got into the SUV. His remaining men looked at each other, then at Leon's forces, then began surrendering their weapons without being asked. They knew when to fold. The SUV pulled away, taking Diego toward the city limits and exile. Leon watched until the taillights disappeared, then turned to his second in command, a man named Thomas, who'd been with him since the beginning. "Status on the children?" Leon asked. "Safe. Delivered to their mother 20 minutes ago. The house on Bleecker is secured. The guards from inside are being questioned, but they're cooperating. They were just hired muscle. Didn't know about the kidnapping until it happened." "Let them go," Leon said, with a warning. "And the territory? Start making calls. I want every business owner, every resident, every person who paid Diego protection money to know. The old management is gone. New rules apply. Fair prices. No exploitation. No targeting civilians." Thomas nodded, then hesitated. "Boss, taking this territory, it's going to cause ripples. The other families will notice. They'll wonder if you're expanding further." "Let them wonder," Leon said, "but make it clear. I didn't take this territory for expansion. I took it because a widow needed help and children needed protection. There's a difference. Some people won't see it that way." "Then they're not paying attention," Leon said. He pulled out his phone, checking the time. 8:47 p.m. "I need to make a call." He walked away from the dispersing vehicles, back toward the warehouse entrance where the light was better. Dialed a number he'd memorized earlier. Jasmine answered on the first ring. "Mr. Pauls? Your children are home," Leon said. The sound that came through the phone was half sob, half laugh, pure relief. "I know. I'm with them. Thank you. I don't know how to." "You don't need to thank me," Leon said. "You just need to be their mother. That's enough. The debt doesn't exist. Never did. It died with the man who created it." "I don't understand how you did this. Jasmine," Leon interrupted gently. "Sometimes understanding isn't necessary. Sometimes you just accept the gift and move forward." Silence on the line. Then, "Will I see you again?" Leon looked out at the territory that was now his responsibility. At the streets that would need cleaning up, the systems that would need rebuilding, the people who would need protecting. "Probably not," he said honestly, "but you'll be safe. You and your children. That's what matters." "The hero rides off into the sunset?" There was a small smile in her voice. "Something like that. Mr. Powell's?" "Yes? Thank you for keeping your promise." Leon ended the call and stood in the warehouse doorway, watching his men secure the area, establish new protocols, begin the work of transformation. The sun rose over the canal district, painting the water gold and orange. Leon sat at the same table where this had all begun, drinking coffee that was actually hot this time. Around him, the morning shift arrived, workers grabbing breakfast, vendors opening their stalls, life continuing as it always did. But something had changed. He could feel it in the way people moved, less hunched, less fearful, like a weight had lifted overnight. Carlito, the taco vendor, approached with a fresh pot of coffee. "Refill, senor? Please." Carlito poured carefully, then hesitated. "The word on the street is that Diego is gone. that new management has taken over. That's correct, Leon said. And the new management, it's you? Leon met his eyes. For now. Until I find someone local to run things properly. Someone who understands this community. Carlito absorbed this, then nodded slowly. We've lived under Diego's boot for 3 years. Before him, it was someone else. Always someone taking, never giving back. That changes now. How can we trust that? How do we know you're not just another Diego with better manners? It was a fair question. Leon respected him for asking it. You don't, Leon said honestly. Trust is earned. Watch what happens over the next weeks. Watch how the territory operates. Watch whether the promises I make are kept. Then decide. Carlito studied him for a long moment, then extended his hand. My daughter works at the community center. She teaches kids after school. Diego made her pay protection money just to keep the doors open. Leon shook his hand. Not anymore. What's the address? You'd help us? Just like that? I'd help you, Leon said, because that's what power should do. Protect, support, build, not destroy. Carlito wrote the address on a napkin, his hand shaking slightly. Her name is Rosa. She's a good person, trying to make a difference. Then she'll have the resources to do it. After Carlito left, Thomas approached and sat across from Leon. The transition is going smoothly, he reported. Diego's people either left or pledged to work under new management. The debt books have been burned literally. We held a ceremony in the street at dawn. People watched. Some cried. Good, Leon said, but there's something you need to know. Someone you need to meet. Who? Thomas gestured across the street. A woman stood there, mid-30s, wearing a business suit that had seen better days. She held a briefcase and looked nervous. Her name is Patricia Brandon. She's a lawyer, works with tenants' rights organizations. She's been fighting Diego's evictions for 2 years, mostly losing because the system was rigged against her. Leon studied her. Send her over, Thomas waved. Patricia crossed the street, approaching the table with visible trepidation. Mr. Pauls? She said. Miss Brandon, please sit. She sat, setting her briefcase on the table. I don't usually meet with people in your position. I understand. What can I do for you? She blinked, surprised by the directness. I represent 43 families who were evicted under Diego's orders. Fake code violations, manufactured debts. They lost their homes, their belongings, everything. I've been trying to get them justice through legal channels, but the system was compromised. Leon finished. Yes. What do these families need? Patricia opened her briefcase with shaking hands, pulling out a thick folder. I have documentation, proof of illegal evictions, proof of coercion. If we could get these cases reopened, if we could force the landlords to compensate. The landlords work for me now, Leon said, as of this morning. What would fair compensation look like? Patricia stared at him. I don't understand. You have 43 families who deserve justice. I have the resources to provide it. What do they need? Housing? Money? Legal fees paid? All of that, she whispered. But that would cost. I don't care what it costs, Leon said. It's the right thing to do. Tears formed in Patricia's eyes. Why? Why would you? Because Diego built his empire on cruelty, Leon said quietly. I'm going to rebuild it on something else, starting with making his victims whole. She wiped her eyes quickly, professional instincts taking over. I'll need to verify everything. Make sure this isn't some kind of course. Thomas will give you his contact information. Work with him. Draw up whatever documentation you need. But Miss Brandon? He waited until she met his eyes. This isn't charity. This isn't guilt. This is what power is supposed to do. She left 20 minutes later with a signed letter of intent and a promise of funding. Leon finished his coffee as the morning grew brighter. His phone rang. Unknown number. Powell's, he answered. This is Captain Morrison, Police Precinct 12. I'm calling about last night's activities in the warehouse district. Leon's expression didn't change. What about them? Multiple reports of vehicles, armed personnel, possible hostage situations. My department would like some answers. Diego Ruiz left the city last night, of his own accord. His business operations have been transferred to new management. All debts forgiven. No violence occurred. No laws were broken. Silence on the line. Then, no laws broken, Mr. Powell's. You orchestrated a hostile takeover of an entire territory. I orchestrated the removal of a man who kidnapped children from a public school. If you'd like to investigate that, I have security footage, witness statements, and a full timeline of events. Another pause. I see. Captain Morrison, I respect the law. I work within it when possible, around it when necessary, but I don't break it carelessly. Check your records, check Diego's operation. Then ask yourself, is this city better with him gone, or with him running this territory? That's not how the law works, perhaps, Leon said. But it's how justice works, and sometimes they're not the same thing. The captain hung up without responding. Leon set his phone down and stood, leaving money on the table, more than the coffee cost, much more. As he walked toward his car, people watched, some with gratitude, some with fear, some with curiosity, but none with the hopelessness he'd seen 2 nights ago. That, he thought, was progress. The evening rain had started again. Leon sat at his usual table, steam rising from his coffee cup, watching the canal water reflect fractured neon. Tacos El Jeff glowed above him. A Beardo 24 HRS hummed beside it. Everything looked the same, but everything had changed. Across from him sat Jasmine Anders. She looked different, not physically, but in the way she carried herself. Her shoulders weren't hunched, her hands weren't trembling. She met his eyes without flinching. The job starts Monday, Leon said. Community center coordinator. It pays fairly. Benefits included. Flexible hours so you can be there when your children get home from school. Jasmine shook her head slowly. I still don't understand why you're doing this. Because you deserve it. That's not an answer. Leon smiled faintly. It's the only one I have. Miguel and Sofia sat at the next table, eating tacos and laughing at something on Miguel's phone. Safe, happy, unaware of how close they'd come to losing everything. They ask about you, Jasmine said. The man who helped us. They don't know the full story, but they know someone intervened. Let them think it was luck. Was it? No, Leon said. It was choice. Yours, mine, theirs. Diego chose cruelty. You chose to keep fighting. I chose to help. That's all power really is, choices and consequences. Jasmine looked at her children, then back at Leon. Rosa Martins called me. The lawyer. She said you're funding the community center expansion. New computers. After-school programs. College prep courses. The community needs it. You keep saying things like that. Like it's obvious. Like powerful men just naturally help people. They should, Leon said simply. Power that only serves itself isn't power. It's tyranny wearing a crown. She studied him for a long moment. Are you a good man, Mr. Powells? Leon considered the question seriously. I don't know. I've done terrible things. Hurt people who probably deserved it and some who didn't. Built an empire on fear and respect in equal measure. But I try. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I try to make sure the world is slightly better, because I exist in it. That's the best I can do. That's more than most, Jasmine said softly. They sat in comfortable silence, the rain drumming overhead, the night alive around them. Finally, Leon stood. I should go. My territory needs attention. This is your territory now, too. For now. But I'm grooming someone local. Someone who understands this place better than I ever could. Someone who'll protect it without needing to be feared. Who? Leon smiled. You'll meet them soon enough. He walked to where Miguel and Sofia sat, crouching to their level. You two take care of your mother, he said. She's stronger than she knows. We will, Miguel promised, while Sofia nodded seriously. Leon stood and walked toward the street. Behind him, Jasmine called out, Mr. Powells? He turned. Thank you, she said, for keeping your promise. Leon nodded once, then disappeared into the rain. He walked 3 blocks to where Thomas waited with the car. Home, boss? Thomas asked. Not yet. I want to drive through the territory, see what needs fixing. They drove slowly through streets that were quieter now. Safer. Streetlights that had been broken were being repaired. Graffiti was being cleaned. Small changes. Important ones. The other families are asking about you, Thomas said. Want to know who you are. Why you care. Tell them I'm no one special. Just someone who believes people deserve better than they've been getting. They won't believe that. They don't have to. As long as things improve, my motivation doesn't matter. They passed the community center. Lights blazed inside. Through the windows, Leon could see children at computers, adults in a language class, families in what looked like a support group. Rosa Martins stood in the doorway, talking to someone. She looked up as they drove past, caught Leon's eye, and raised her hand in a small wave. He nodded back. "You're changing things," Thomas observed. "Not just here. People are watching. Other territories, other organizations. They're wondering what it means." "It means," Leon said quietly, "that power that exploits is temporary. Power that protects endures. They can wonder, or they can learn. Their choice." They drove back across the river into Leon's original territory, where his empire waited, where other responsibilities called. But Leon looked back once, through the rain-streaked window, at the canal district growing smaller in the distance. He'd come for coffee. He'd left having changed everything. And somewhere in that transformation, perhaps he'd changed too. The rain continued falling, washing the streets clean, preparing them for whatever came next. And in a small apartment overlooking the canal, Jasmine Anders tucked her children into bed, kissed their foreheads, and allowed herself to believe for the first time in months that tomorrow might actually be better than today. Thanks for sticking with this story until the very end. You're the reason these stories feel alive. If you're ready for another powerful journey, just tap the next video on your screen. And before you go, leave a quick comment and rate this story from 1 to 10. I'm excited to read your thoughts and connect with you in the comments.